Welcome to a special edition of the Imperfect Cheerleader podcast. I'm your host, Jasmine Neely, and this episode starts a series of interviews from TopCats alum, managers, and staff. This year, the Panthers organization celebrated 30 years of the TopCats, and after a fabulous alumni reunion last October, we wanted to take it a step further and celebrate some of the stories and careers of women who have worn this legendary uniform, coached different teams, and led the organization to greatness. I want to begin by saying thank you. I have been wanting to do this podcast series for a long time, and finally, I'm able to do it and start the series with two incredible legends. I'm looking forward to the incredible insights and stories that are to come from this series, and I'm excited for TopCat alumni and current TopCats to listen to stories and for TopCat hopefuls to understand the depth and history of what they want to be part of. It is truly an honor, and I just want to kick it off by saying how much I appreciate the organization coming to me with this opportunity. For this episode of the TopCats Era series, I want to take our listeners back in time to the origin story of the TopCats and what some of the thoughts and feelings were around that time. To set the stage, it was the early 90s, pop music and hip-hop music were thriving, girl bands and boy bands were on the rise, and NFL football had just come to the Carolinas. So I'd like to introduce Leslie Matz and Kimberly Millar to the Imperfect Cheerleader podcast. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
So I want to start out with a brief introduction, or I would like for you to briefly introduce yourselves. And for those who don't know you, please just kind of talk about what your involvement was and is with the TopCats organization.
Okay. Well, I'm Leslie Matz, and I was the original inaugural director of the Carolina Panthers TopCats. Came from the Philadelphia Eagles as the marketing director and cheer director, and then the Panthers hired me to create create the mascot program and the TopCat program and serve as director of entertainment and special events for the organization back in 1994. So I came in from there, and it was very strange coming from a team that was in the middle of our season playing football games to coming to the Carolina Panthers when we, as Kimberly knows quite well, we were in a building uptown Charlotte, and we had no players, no coaches, no stadium yet. It was under construction. So it was a whole different feeling. And we wore hose and heels to work every day, which was quite a shock for me. So it was just
So
very
fashioned.
different. Yes. Oh, yes. And so it was very different time. So I was tasked with that and was very grateful to, after interviewing quite a few people for our choreography position, because I cannot dance, never have, never will, and to find Kimberly, and she will tell you more about herself, but to join with me in creating that program from scratch, because we end up having an extra year to do it because they postponed the cheerleaders until we were going to be at the stadium in uptown Charlotte. So we had a lot more time to work on it than we thought. So Kimberly, go ahead and tell them about you.
So, hi everyone. I'm Kimberly Millar, and I came to the Panthers via NC State, where I was a cheerleader. I was national champion. I was captain. Then I made my way up to New England, where I cheered for the Patriots for a couple of years. I also got into coaching on the collegiate level, coached Roger Williams University. I was cheering for the Patriots when I saw that the league was expanding, and I wanted to make my way back home to North Carolina. And so kind of kept my eye on things and got back to North Carolina. I was coaching the Campbell University cheerleading squad when Leslie hired me. And like she said, we start with a blank slate. What was nice was, she had industry experience with another team, as did I. And I feel like we kind of took the best of both worlds of the previous programs that we had. And it really became something unique and a program that I know I'm going to speak for you, Leslie, that we're both really proud of the foundation that we created.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's awesome. Leslie, how did you come up with the idea of TopCats? Like, where did it all begin? I'm not sure if everyone knows this origin story. Was it a thought in your head? Did somebody else give you the idea? Kind of give us a rundown of like what was going on in your mind at the time.
Well, we knew we wanted to have something, and Kimberly and I talked about this,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
then I'll reveal the name of the person who actually
Mm-hmm.
managed to bring the Top Cats. But
Mm-hmm.
we wanted something that would relate to the Panthers, to Panther Cats, And we knew so we were trying to think of different names. I know that I guess the Hornets had the Lady Cats at one point when they were the Bobcats, but
Mhm.
we weren't going to, copy them,
And
obviously.
Clemson had the Rally Cats.
Yeah,
Clemson
Rally Cats, yes, right. So there
Yeah.
was
is
different
that.
names. And my husband, Chris,
Mm-hmm.
came up with the names of Sir Purr and the Top Cats. He said, well, how about the Top Cats? And I thought, oh my gosh, that's great. And he said Sir Purr because Charlotte
Mm-hmm.
being queen of Charlotte,
Mm-hmm.
royal city, if you wish, he thought Sir went well with Purr.
Yeah.
And so he said Sir Purr and the Top Cats. And when you say it together, it just rolls off the tongue so well. And it just sounded so natural. So he actually came up with both. And he used to joke and say, well, where's my royalty for coming up with those names? I said, you got me, I'm your commission,
Right.
And
Right.
but it was really a great story that
Mm-hmm.
still is told to this day. The cheerleaders will see him. He works at the stadium, has for 31 years in a part-time capacity on game days, and did a couple years full-time. But anyway, the cheerleaders would see him and always say, Chris, you named us and everything. So
Yes.
it's just a neat story. His bragging rights, if you wish, that he actually
Yeah.
named them. So he just put his mind to it, head to it about what made sense in terms of cats, and that did. And then Kimberly came up with that. Remember the routine you came up with?
Yep, with Black Cat. Well, I also think, when I think about our logo, because Chris named it first and we were kind of playing off ideas. Well, what can the logo look like? And when, the top hat, top cat, and that's why the top cat has the little hat and the sexy little eye coming out. So
Yeah.
Leslie and I kind of brainstormed and came up with that logo based on what Chris had named. So it was kind of fun how all of that just came together. Once we had the name, it just
Yeah.
came together real fast after that.
And then along those lines, and in the middle of the hat, between the hat and the face, there's
Mhm.
the little swoop, and that's supposed to be a tail. So people don't know that too much. That was like the tail of a cat. So that all came together. Yeah.
I'm
And
looking
then,
at my ring right now and I see
Yeah.
the swoop.
yeah,
Yes.
That's so cool. I did not know that.
yeah. And then so the black cat routine Kimberly did, but we
Mhm.
also had a routine you did the first season with top hats and canes. I don't know
We
what
sure
you
did, putting on the Ritz.
Yeah, putting on the Ritz. There you go. Thank you.
Yep.
Yep. Back in the day. So that was really neat. It was awkward trying to deal with top hats and canes and dance. Was fun,
That
but they
was
did
a
a great
lot
job
of
with it. Yep.
props to handle for half the
Yeah.
show.
But it
I
was
like, I
fun.
need to see a video of that. That's iconic.
Probably have it at the
One of
gala.
the
Someone
alumni
has
did
it.
post it. I think it is out there.
Oh, good.
I seem to recall seeing it
I'll have
during
to
the
take a look.
30-year reunion. Somebody posted it. Might have been Melanie. Not
Probably.
Yeah.
sure.
Because she has a lot of footage. Yeah.
Yeah. But back
Um,
in the day, we used to do a different pregame show every game.
Every game, pregame was
Every
different.
game
That's
pregame was different.
and you
wow.
had 4 routines in game, if I'm not mistaken, instead of
Full
2.
routines and games. Gosh, we had to be ready for whatever music would come on, and then there would be definitive songs that we would pre-select before the season even started. A lot of it was based on, what would our fans like to hear during the game. So that was a good starting off point. And then, of course, you have to keep in mind whatever's popular or hits during the summer or during football season that everybody wants to hear in the stadium. And so that kind of drove a lot of the music choices in the beginning, just thinking about what do our fans want to hear.
What were some of those what were some of those songs that y'all you could think about around that time? Like any staples that come to your mind?
Well, Black Cat was definitely one. Janet Jackson in the 90s
Yes.
was huge.
Right.
And, Black Cat, Panthers, Top Cat, that just made a lot of sense. I think the very first year that we had tryouts, the 70s was kind of having a music revival. So we did Little Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Mm.
Kyle Ritchie, who used to run the scoreboard, he was such a big fan of Jimmy Buffett, and
Yeah.
Finn's was his favorite song. So I'm like, I'm doing this for you. And then John
Carolina
Richardson,
Girls.
who was who was the son of Mr. Richardson. He was such a big classic rock fan. So I always tried to throw, I think Back in Black was one routine we did because I know he liked it.
I love that song too.
Yeah, it's great. It's a wonderful one.
So I know, Leslie, you interviewed Kimberly. How did y'all first get connected? How did your two worlds collide?
She had submitted, she had her letter applying, and then they had to submit videotapes as well. I believe you had to, as well as choreographers.
I
Then-
stalked you guys.
Yeah, And then she had to come into the organization and
Yeah.
actually perform in front of myself and Mark
Mhm.
Richardson and a couple other, I don't know who else was in there. Oh, BJ
Jackie
Wade.
Jeffrey was in there. BJ Waymer was in there. BJ Waymer was the president of player community relations, and she had a background with the 49ers. And yeah, I had to come in, not only do my interview, but then I had to do choreography. And I remember sitting in the interview when once the interview part is done, turning to Mark Richardson and saying, "You staying for the show?" He told me later that I scared him.
You
Yeah, but
mentioned that was your most memorable experience, was your
That
interview.
That was one of them. Yeah, yeah. It was fun, like, because, like Leslie said, we didn't have a stadium yet. And so when I was performing choreography, it was literally in a conference room, and
yes.
the chairs are lined up, and I'm doing 7, 8 contagion, and here,
Yeah.
and ripple. Like, I'm talking through,
Yeah.
like,
You're probably wondering, what does she mean? But I knew.
Leslie knew what I was
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So did you come up with the choreography on the spot, or did you already have it like made
I
up?
had a
It
couple
wasn't like
things in the back
improvised.
of my head, like, once I found the Panthers were going to have a team, I just stalked everyone and everything. I had uniform sketches done in like three different colorways, and I had routines in my head that I'm like, well, if I get hired, this is the amount of volume I'm going to have to produce, and I want to get a head start. And they were just things in my head. So I knew that if I brought these choreography pieces, that they would probably eventually end up on the field if I was hired.
And Kimberly was prepared, as you can tell by what she just said. She, the things that stand out the most about why we picked Kimberly, well, three things. One, her sense of preparedness, like she said, her enthusiasm. I mean, she and I, we clicked, we had chemistry right away, and we were
Mhm.
talking. I remember sitting in my office and we just kept talking. I was like, and that was during your interview before we went for you to do your dance. And I said, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
this is just, I had to be careful because we had some other great people too, but the chemistry with her was just amazing. And the fact that she had been with another pro team.
Mhm.
I don't know if anyone else that we interviewed had, but that wasn't the deciding point. It was
Mhm.
basically her knowledge and presentation, and like she said, preparedness. But the fact that she had been with another team was so beneficial. The one thing I think I had trouble agreeing on with Kimberly, and it's a funny story, is whether we should have. We had 36 cheerleaders at the Philadelphia Eagles. They had 35.
Mm.
Mhm.
So I said, well, we could have 36 cheerleaders. She goes, well, no, with 35 makes more sense because da 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 da. I said, well, no, but we had 36. It took her explain it to me probably 10 more times than you had needed to, but you did. You were very patient, explaining why 35 made more sense, and it did.
Well, because we didn't want to. We were debating whether to have alternates on the
Yes.
squad. And when I had cheered for the Patriots, we had alternates, and I'm like, it's kind of tough on the girls. You get all excited, you make the squad, you announce, and then a couple rehearsals in, wah wah.
Yeah.
You're not playing the squad. And then but Leslie had made a good point. She goes, well, during game day, we like cheerleaders to be able to meet with the sponsors and meet with donors and PR piece. And I'm like, well, I don't want to have to choreograph everything every single game because of who's on the field. So that's how we came up with the idea of, let's do 5 lines of 7 and just rotate. And then whoever's in the suites, if I need somebody to sub on the field,
Hold it
that's the
down.
sub. And
Yeah.
so I'd come up with the idea of like numbering everybody 1 through 7 on the line. And then if you're number 1 in the suites and number 1 on the field is injured, or for whatever reason they're not cheering, number 1 comes down.
It was
And so
very,
that way you don't really get into playing favorites, or it was very
Mm.
analytical.
That's so smart. It's
I don't know
like
if you still do that or not, but
when
when
I
we
was
were
on the
playing
team, we did.
oh
Yeah.
really?
We did on the team when I was on the team. My first year we had alternates, but then my second year and on we did not. And we did we had a sweet team each game, and there was only 4 lines on the field, and then there was a sweet line. And if somebody got hurt, that person would fill in and etc.
Yes.
So that's iconic, and it's such a great way to form a team and who goes where and everything. So
It felt the most fair, and you still were able to make a lot of different elements of the day experience work,
yeah,
mhm.
not just on the field.
that's
Yeah, and it makes it easier for you as a choreographer because okay, I know who the ones are, the twos, the threes, the fours,
And
etc.
it was good for the cheerleaders because they didn't have to
Yep,
relearn a different
yeah.
spot because they got pulled down. So,
exactly.
oh,
Amazing.
that's That's fun that you guys still do that, or at least they did for several years.
Yeah, I hope they still do it today. I wonder.
That's
It
cool.
only makes sense. That's really cool. That's really cool insight, though. So, Leslie, you were at the Philadelphia Eagles directing the cheerleaders and serving as a marketing director before you came to Carolina. So, what other traditions did you bring over to Carolina that you could use for Top Cats?
Um, the the foundation of the program in terms of rules and regulations, for example, brought those right from the from the Panther I mean, excuse me, from the Eagles program to the Panthers. Also spoke with Kimberly though and looked at what the rules and regulations were for the Patriots cheerleaders,
Hmm.
knowing that the squad in the Carolinas would be more conservative than what we had in Philadelphia. Our the women on the squad in Philadelphia were and are very classy group of women, very respectable, but the Philadelphia environments just I don't know. Hard to explain the difference. Just we're in the Bible Belt down here in North
Hmm.
Carolina, in the Carolinas. So you're just going to have a slightly more conservative approach to your squad, whether
Yeah.
it's uniforms. Like the first year, we went with a one-piece uniform. The Seahawks and the Panthers, I think, were the only two squads with one-piece
Hmm.
uniforms back then. The
Mm,
Yeah.
Seahawks won for years, and of course, we were new.
mhm.
Patriots, we had a one-piece uniform my first year.
Yeah. Okay. There. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I remember yours with the thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, funny story about this because I remember when the stadium was first built and I'm sitting in the basement. I have this little office in this like literally a closet, and Mr. Richardson comes in and he's like, "I just want you to know that our squad, they are ladies." And I'll never forget that. They are ladies. This is the Carolinas and they are ladies.
Yeah, very respectful. Yeah, very yeah,
Yeah.
so, and more conservative, like we said. Then, and you
Hmm.
look at different parts of the country. The squads are going to. I mean, Nashville. You got the whole music scene in Nashville, so they might have a different approach. In the old days, perhaps when some of us were in sneakers, they might have worn boots
Yeah.
sooner, just like Dallas did, because that's
Right.
the atmosphere there.
Yeah.
So I'm still very close with the Eagles cheerleaders, not the program per se, but with the cheerleader alumni,
Mhm.
Hmm.
and they do an outstanding job and they just danced on the field a week and a half ago with their current squad, and it looked amazing. And they were ladies from the 1960s until the present. So it's a incredibly professional program, and the alumni just are outstanding. And we look to them as we grow our alumni because they've been around so much longer than we have. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that is a great. They're great mentors for us.
Yeah. And that brings me to my next point and slash question about the throwback uniform. We all know it as throwback. It was the one piece, and it's
Hmm.
I feel like everyone loves that uniform. It's so flattering on each dancer. I want to know, and I'm sure people listening want to know, how did that design come together? And what do you remember the thought processes? Maybe Kimberly was part of your designs that you sketched.
I mean, all
We
the
did it
design
together, but
Leslie and
maybe.
I would say are collaboration, but I do have
Okay.
a design background and I've designed uniform. Like even when I cheered at NC State, they let me design a uniform. And in fact, one of the images that I sent to you, that little crop top, they like bananas. But some of my thought process was we're conservative. We were instructed one piece, but we still want to think about something that would be, I don't know, be complementary to the football uniforms, something that would be flattering. That's why we used a lot of the V shapes.
Mm,
When you think about the neckline here and the neckline here and the waistline, all those are very flattering to the female form. Another thing was with the mesh panel. It was a way that the girls could breathe during the hot summer months, but everything was contained. So we didn't have to worry about having a wardrobe malfunction.
Yes.
And then because with the top cats, during the winter we added a bolero to it, so that was kind of how that came about.
And then with the uniform, one thing when Kimberly, I remember she did all the sketches because I could say, "Ooh, I think this is a neat idea," and she would say, "Oh, that sounds kind of cool." And so we would collaborate out, and then she would draw it out, and her
Yeah.
sketches were amazing. I remember you had a Harlequin one. I remember when you interviewed them.
Yes.
Anyway,
Yes.
final uniform, we wanted a cat collar, so that's why the
Hmm.
neckline is like this. So for a cat collar
Yeah,
for the top cats, yeah.
but it was fun at the end of every season. Leslie and I would do like a little uniform session, jam session, and we would, get feedback from the Top Cats and say, okay, what worked for this uniform, what didn't work for this uniform, and what do we want to do next? And so that kind of drove the progression of the different uniforms.
Yeah.
But I'm tickled that they still use it.
Isn't that great? I know.
Yeah.
It looks so good on everybody. It's like just one of those timeless uniforms that, can just transcend time.
When you
And
get a cheeseburger for the game and you're still going to look good.
exactly, yes. It fits everybody's figure so well. It's one of my favorites. I feel like I'm getting like an exclusive inside look into the brains behind the organization and the start. This is incredible. So after that throwback uniform, was how long did the dancers wear those uniforms until you brought into another?
1 year.
1 year. That was the only uniform you wore for the whole season?
Well, in the winter,
Correct.
I'm trying to think what we put them in. Probably black pants and do we have the black jacket that year?
We had a black jacket, just like a little zip
was a
jacket,
nice,
and
yeah.
and I think leggings, and
Yeah, black
90s everything was boot cut.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just one uniform, and then the next year, we modified the existing design, and then by year 3 we were allowed to do 2 pieces. But for the years that we were there, at least when I was there, it was one uniform per season, and you just made it work. And as the weather changed, you added a couple pieces to it. Now I'm a little jealous. They have like a whole wardrobe. They
So
have like
many.
It's amazing how they had. Yeah, we had no budget almost. We had very small, and they were excited just to have their main uniform, which is they wore 3/4 of the year, and then the winter, like Kimberly said, we would put them in black leggings, and they actually was a cute little black kind of like a crop jacket that was adorable. They were all in black then. There was no blue to that. I think we had blue turtleneck thing underneath it, Dickies or something.
Yes.
But that was about it. And then and of course the ladies wore sneakers for what do you call it, tic
Well, that's what everybody wore in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
they
the
weren't
90s.
doing the boots in the 90s.
No, I forget when we started with boots. When the year that
think
was.
Boots started to come back right about the time that I left.
Okay, so in the early 2000s, we started with boots, and we and those actually worked. Most of the ladies said they were quite comfortable considering what you're doing, dancing in them.
Yeah.
I can't imagine doing that, but
Yeah.
they look great. But now some of the squads are back in sneakers again. It looks like.
Isn't that nuts? Like it's all cyclical.
Yeah, it is.
I think they did like a tribute to the 90s, and I think when I was on the team we wore sneakers for a game and like the socks that went with them so we could pay tribute to like the inaugural team, or it was like a 90s theme game, so that was really cool.
Well, some of that was dependent on who our sponsors were that year. You're so dependent on sponsors in the beginning, and like Leslie said, it was a new team. We didn't have the deep budget that developed later on.
Not at all.
So who made the uniforms then? Was the lineup around that time, or?
Our first year, I know that Nicole's mom made them the second year. The first
Second
and then we have Mars Costumes did them 1 year. Was that the first year?
I think Morris Costumes might have done it.
Yeah.
Might have stoned them the first year, and then I know at one point I think we had Varsity Spirit Fashions.
Yep,
do
they
them,
did them.
and
Our first 2-piece they did, Varsity did, I think. And then
with the
after
car
that-
wash skirt, with the car wash.
Yes. Yeah, but we had, that's right. But then I worked with the lineup. I worked with Angela King Designs in Philadelphia. They did all
Okay.
the uniforms there. And then, but the lineup came in. I met her, the lady, drawing a blank on her name, but she came to one of our cheer director meetings, and I just loved her. And we worked with her for years.
She got it.
Yeah.
She
yes,
got
did.
it, and she had the team who could execute the visions every year.
Very
So
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was much better for us to have a bigger operation. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Leslie, I'm curious, you said you don't have a dance background at all. How did you get involved with just dance and cheer in general? Do you have like a love for it, even though you don't have a background in it in particular? Or like, how did...
Great question. I fell into the whole NFL thing. I think it's a God thing because because I met my husband at the vet and we got married, so I would never have met him if it hadn't been for the Eagles. So, he was one of our clients. I was a French major at Chapel Hill, nothing to do with sports, business world, and planned to teach, but on my own, not in a classroom because I didn't want to have the constraints of a traditional classroom. And I just love the language. And my dad says, "What are you going to do with it?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to major in something I enjoy. I'll be here 4 years." And so I started French in college. I'd taken Latin through high school, started French, loved it, and did France my junior year. Graduated, but I used to spend every summer from age 7 on up in Philadelphia with my aunt and uncle. Not the whole summer, but as I got older, it got to be the whole summer. And I loved Philly. I thought, I am meant to be here. It just felt right. And it still feels good. It's not home, because I love North Carolina is my home, but Philly's my second home. And I met the people who owned the organization, owned the team, and this lady named Susan Fletcher who ran the team. Her dad owned it. She ran it. And she was she was an attorney in my uncle's law firm. And she said, Les, you need to come work for me when you graduate from college. I'm like, why do I want to work for an NFL team? You know, most people would be like, oh my gosh, you're so lucky. But I was like, I have no interest in doing that. I had a job lined up with a tutoring agency outside Philadelphia to do exactly what I love doing. And I'd done that before when I lived in Philly for a year. And I'm like, I'm set to go. And then I thought, you know what? I need to buy a car and get an apartment. And doing this part-time tutoring gig is not going to, do that for me now. So I told Susan at the Eagles, I said, I'll do it for a year, and then I am going to leave. And then I stayed there 12 years and then was with the Panthers for 10. So, a lot happened. And with the cheerleader side of it, so the Eagles itself, that was a fluke. And then with the cheerleader side, I started there in 83, before you were born, I guess, and then way before. And then in 84 started helping behind the scenes with the cheerleader program. Because I was a young lady and they were young ladies, and it just was very comfortable helping out whatever they needed. I had a little downtime, and then the team got sold, and after the sale of the team, some people in the marketing department who had worked with the cheerleaders before were let go, and so I was helping out in 85 and got promoted to cheer director in 86 with no background in running a squad except for helping behind the scenes and with no dance background. I do love dance. I love to watch it. What I can do, I remember telling Kimberly this and subsequent choreographers, is I can't dance myself. I can never memorize routine. I'm so in awe of all of you who can, and how Kimberly and the other choreographers created these amazing routines. But I could tell you if someone's doing it right. I can tell you if they were just mechanical versus fluid, if they innate, if it's magical or not, or if it's just going through the mechanics. And I kind of brought the fan perspective too, as a non-dance. So I think that was a good balance, because I remember every year there'd be somebody auditioning, and I would say to Kimberly, I would say, oh, I love that person. And she'd go, I love her too. I said, I know she's not a strong dancer, but can she be your dance project? And we probably every year, I guess.
Every year I'd have a couple, and they turned out great. So
awesome. Yeah.
I mean,
it's the whole package, not just the dance. And I also appreciated her letting those people have a chance, and they earned it.
Well, and I think that's where Leslie and I were such a good yin and yang for each other, because, having come from a mostly collegiate cheer background and then dancing on the field versus Leslie has very great organizational mind. She knows what looks good on the field. And I think it was just a really good partnership, because we balanced each other out. And both of us would have our projects, because I would be like, I really, really love this girl. She cheered at blah, 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 blah. And Leslie would be like, I don't know. I'm like, trust me. This person will never, she cheered in college at a competitive team. She will never complain. She will never and so both of us, I feel like the candidates that we championed, they ended up thriving. So I think we both had good eyes for different things. And I think that's what ultimately makes a great squad. Not everybody's cookie cutter. You look at other teams, and they have a look and they have a style, and everything's the same. And that's one thing I've always loved about the TopCats, is there is more diversity there. And I think that's important.
Yeah, that's true. That continues to be, which is, I applaud the Panthers for that, because we don't want everyone to look the same. We want them to be who each of them is, and bring that diversity and that individual talent and to the organization, to the squad.
Absolutely. And that's important to note. I think it's really important that you said, both of you, that you had those dance projects for certain people in the squad, because it gives them an opportunity to grow and then tell their story to somebody else that might not, be as technical as the next dancer, but wants to try out for the team and has a great personality and loves to be in the community. So I think
Yeah.
that's something that's super important when people are thinking about auditioning for a team.
Well, it
Right.
is. And, having been a cheerleader all the way through like high school, sometimes people just don't get the opportunities
Hmm.
in their high school and college journey for whatever reason. But we always felt that if somebody was worthy and they're willing to work hard and they had a good heart, then why not give them a chance?
Right.
Right.
And we had people, actually, I just saw one of our former cheerleaders the other day at a gathering, and I was introduced to her husband, and I said, I discovered your wife, and she worked on the Tomcat. He's like, what? And I said, yeah, she was working at a restaurant up in Lake Norman.
Hmm.
It was a part-time gig for her. I think she was in school, and this is her part-time thing. Beautiful young lady. And I just said, hey, are you a dancer? And she's like, what? And I said, we have auditions for the Top Cats coming up. If you are a strong dancer or have good dance skills, we'd love to see you try out. She goes, well, I'm not really great. I mean, I'm not a dancer per se, but I'd love to
Hmm.
try out. So she tried out. She didn't make it, and that's okay. But I told her, work on your dance and come back next year.
Hmm.
Because she really wasn't strong enough to even be a dance project at that time. And she
Hmm.
Hmm.
knew that. But she came back the next year and she made the squad. And she was on our Super Bowl squad and yeah, and did an amazing job as a top cat. So it goes to
Hmm.
show stories like that,
Yeah.
we have people that tried out, some I didn't realize had tried out 3 times sometimes. And sometimes
Four. I
four,
remember
four.
five. And those were always my favorite because I'm like, you know what? That shows that you're committed and you're going to take this seriously. And, that's always a great quality to have on
Yeah,
the squad.
that's true.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know people that have auditioned for 4 times, 5 times, and they don't give up. And I'm
No.
also I'm also really curious about, you mentioned, you walk up to somebody, or I don't know how often you would do that, and say, hey, you should audition. How often did you do that? And how do you all think about like recruiting nowadays, whether it's from a college or just somebody that you see that might be a good fit for a squad? What are your thoughts on that?
I still will tell people to audition. If I see them, I do. I said, another space. Now I do say, I give them a little, what do you call it? A little, can't think of the right word,
Disclaimer.
but yes, thank you. Just to say, hey, I know this may sound strange, but I was former director for the Top Cats, and
Hmm.
you have a great look, and if you're a dancer, think about auditioning. And sometimes you say I'm not, but thank you for that compliment. But I
Yeah.
say, I do preface it by saying this may sound weird because in this day and age, it's like who am I? But I'm still not shy away because I believe so much in the program that
Hmm.
I'm all about helping them. I think social media has changed things, Kimberly. I don't know what you want
Yes.
to add to that, but I feel like it makes
100%.
a difference.
Yeah, like so, I think ultimately Leslie and I are both cheerleaders for other people. And, whether for me it's like, oh, I see a girl that might be a great model or a good pageant girl or a good top cat. You want to cheer for people and you want to encourage people to strive and do things kind of out of their comfort zone. I also know coming from the Carolinas, we have such a strong cheerleader tradition across middle school and high school and college between cheerleading and dance teams that I knew a lot of these people coming back. And so I knew that we wouldn't have a hard time getting quality talent to the Top Cats. One thing I love that Leslie and I did that, I mean, maybe you see it at other teams, I don't know, but in our mind, in the Carolinas, pretty girls who can dance are a dime a dozen. But we were looking for individuals not only that had those qualities, but added some, but brought something else to the table.
Mm.
And we were always super impressed with young women that we knew we could put in a room with sponsors or put it in a room with CEOs, and they could hold their own and they could be impressive.
Yeah.
And that was really important to us too. So in addition to the dance talent, there might have been super talented dancers that never made the squad, and some of it was just down to the reason that we had such dynamic women beyond danceability, and that was really important to us.
So
Yeah.
true.
I want to get into that a little bit. For the first auditions, what
Hmm.
was that like? I heard that there were over 400 women who auditioned. I don't know if that's true. 1,000?
I think there's a
No,
thousand. Yeah.
408 actually.
Oh, why
So
did I think there
Okay.
was a?
probably maybe from the Patriots or the
Maybe
Eagles used to have that, but yeah, but we had 408, which was good.
that
That's
was a lot for
amazing. Yeah. So, yeah, what were the first auditions like? You talked about a little bit about what you were looking for. You know, were they were they like where were they held and what did hopefuls have to do? Like we want all the details. What were the requirements?
Well, they were at Winthrop University.
Mm-hmm.
People did send in an application by
Mm-hmm.
mail. No, did we
Mm-hmm.
get it that day? We got it that day.
We had them registered. Well, we had a database, so if they wanted information, we would send them audition information. And so when they showed up, like the line went around the
Yes, Winthrop
building.
University. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
and not really knowing how many we would have. I mean, we could have had 20 people show up. We could have had 2,000. We had no idea. And so the first rounds were kind of like what you see on TV. We would just line them up 10 at a time, turn the music on,
Freelance,
go,
freestyle. Yeah, freestyle
Wow.
go.
dancing at first. Yeah, which was interesting. And then Kimberly, you want to tell the story about the contestant?
Yes. So this story is legendary, and it is absolutely true. So that year at Winthrop, they've lined up. They say their name, where they're from. They turn the music on. What we're just looking for is, are they physically fit? Do they have the aesthetic that that Carolina classy girl that we're after? And do they have just basic rhythm? Like we weren't even looking at specific dance skills yet. Just that first thing, just get it through. But this one girl shows up, this one young lady shows up, and while she's dancing, her wig falls off. And she didn't know. She didn't know. So she's dancing the whole time, and the whole time Leslie and I are like, you can't laugh.
You
You
don't laugh.
can't laugh. We're kicking each other. We're just trying to be like professional and just smiling. So when the music stops and she hits her pose, she realizes her hair is on the gym floor. She reaches down on the floor, waves it at us. Go Panthers!
It was
Puts
awesome,
it
like a
back.
pom pom.
Like a pom pom.
That was
Legend.
That's
I don't know who
amazing.
you are, person out there, but legend.
Yeah,
Love the
I don't know who
spirit.
she was. If it's somebody that I don't think she made our squad, but I don't know
No,
who she was. But big props to her for not losing her composure and
no.
making it into something fun,
Yeah.
and
Yes,
we will all remember to this day.
yes.
That's how you do it, though. When something
Right.
happens, you gotta make a quick choice,
Gotta roll
and for
with it.
that choice, she entertained y'all.
She chose
And then
positive. She chose positive versus freaking out and taking
Yeah,
a situation that, was probably mortifying for her after the fact, but we never knew because she played it off so well.
yeah. That's a
and
great lesson for anyone during auditions. Things happen, and you have to take it with a grain of salt and make the best out of it.
And I
How you
think just for
recover.
that first round, Kimberly, you taught them routines. We couldn't be at the stadium. Well, no, the stadium. Yeah, we did go to the stadium after that, I believe. Yeah,
At
we did.
some point, we're at the stadium,
Yeah, we
but I
were.
know, if I recall, the first round was just the
We
town
went
hall
up to
round.
the conference room also. That's where the girls had to. That's no, that's where they rehearse sometimes.
We would
So
rehearse in the conference room before the stadium was
we
built.
did Carillon buildings, yeah. And so,
Yes.
but basically,
27 West Trade Street. I still
oh
remember that
God,
dress.
you're right. It was and we had rehearsals, and Kimberly would teach them routines,
Mm-hmm.
and also during that time. So at rehearsal, we're looking for poise, we're looking for showmanship just as much as
Mm-hmm.
dance skills,
Mm-hmm.
and then we also did interviews. And
Mm-hmm.
after doing, we interviewed our finalists, and
Mm-hmm.
then we
Yeah.
went to our finals when they danced two at a time,
Mm-hmm.
um, in no particular order, just two at a time. You try to get some pretty strong people to be those first two out there to demonstrate, so the judges knew.
Did we make them answer a football question too?
Oh, yes, we did. That's right. They
Mm.
had to answer, kind of like they have in recent years. You probably had to answer one,
Yep.
like, what would you do if such and
How
such
much
a
how many points
situation?
is a touchdown?
Yeah, and then you ask the
Right.
questions.
Yeah.
So we asked that, and then they were relieved when they could stop answering questions and go dance.
Yeah.
And then after that, we would pick our squad. I don't think, did we pick them that night?
Yeah.
I know
We did. We
we
did.
did it.
And
We
we would
always did
announce.
it for a number of years, and then we
Mm-hmm.
stopped doing that, and then we announced it once we had
Mm-hmm.
social media or internet.
Yeah.
We announced it on internet just to make it easier because it's
Yeah.
very hard. Because anybody that
When
was a
you don't have the
finalist,
name called, when your name's not
yeah,
called, that's
it's
hard.
horrible.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you're a finalist, you're really good.
You're good
And
enough to be on the squad.
right. And it's
Mhm.
just a matter of numbers at that point and going with
Mm-hmm.
what your gut tells you and what the judges also
Mm-hmm.
vote. That's what's so helpful at
Mm-hmm.
finals. People think, do you really even check the judges' scores? Like, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, you got to, because you want people
Mm-hmm.
outside of just the two of us making that decision, to
Yes.
see what's
Yeah.
going to appeal to others. and they're people from different backgrounds, whether it's dance background, pageant backgrounds, or what have you, health fitness backgrounds. And
Yeah.
so we would select people, and
Mhm.
then right away that I used to do it that night to go over rules and regulations and
Mhm.
stuff. And then we decided, nope. And later, that's too
Let's
much.
make that the first
Let them
practice.
go celebrate, you know.
Yeah.
And so, and then we would get measured. They get measured for uniforms, you know, very soon afterwards, and you just hit the ground running.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a tight rehearsal schedule. We had a lot of choreography we had to cover, and
Yeah.
I just remember that I think, you know, the judges are so important for finals because, like Leslie said, especially when it comes to vets, because we get really close to the vets and you see how hard they work and how dedicated they are. And so when a vet wouldn't make it again, you know, it's because they were outperformed.
Mhm.
And, you know, it's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah. Wow.
It was always heartbreaking for us when somebody would
Yes.
not make it again.
Because you do
Because
get close to them, and
you
you
do.
got to take your personal feelings out of it, which is
Mhm.
so hard because it is a business.
Right.
Yes.
But it's just hard to do that.
Hmm.
But I love that, and there are people that some people that we did cut certain years, and they came back, and
Hmm.
some years they made it. And isn't
Mhm.
that great that you're on the squad, you get cut at the end of the year, don't make it back, but yet you take that year off, and then you come back again.
Hmm.
I love that. I think
Yeah.
it's
I love that
to
too.
their character, so much.
Shows your dedication too. And I like that y'all mentioned that you looked at the judges' scores because I feel like a lot of times today a lot of people think that it's just politics and that the coach just decides who's on the team, which we never know what the decision is being made, you know, how it's being made, but I think it's important for people listening to know that the judges' scores are important no matter what, and they're there for a reason.
Yeah, right.
It's
They're
the
not just
only
there to
fair
look.
way to do it.
Yeah,
You know, if you just want to reward people who've been there forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, you know, eventually, I don't know. I always liked having new blood and, you know, having that neutral set of eyes and a different perspective because some of the judges were in the cheerleading, makeup, pageant, fashion community, entertainment community, and some people weren't. And, you know, what we might respond to as cheerleader people, your average Joe fan might have a very different reaction. And so I think it's important to get different perspectives on that judging panel too, for that reason. Otherwise, everybody would be the same,
yeah,
and that's boring.
yeah.
Yeah. When did you all start practicing at the stadium?
Ooh.
I think
And
it was the
what, in
summer, right?
August? Huh? It was
Was
the
it the
summer,
summer?
yes. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was probably July. Well, we unveiled the squad and unveiled the name and the uniforms,
Mm-hmm.
everything, in July 10th, I think it was, of 96.
I think it
I,
was Fan Fest, wasn't it?
huh?
Was it at Fan Fest before we called it
Well,
that?
they were unveiled then, but we had a press thing for the media up in the
Yeah.
North Club Lounge or South Club Lounge, one of them, on July 10th, I think it was that year. David Monroe,
Yeah.
the historian for the Carolina Panthers, I think gave me that date. 95% sure that's the right date, but it was great. And we had the logo on, the coroplast
Mm-hmm.
boards and the cheerleaders dance. Was that when their palms started shredding, Kimberly? The silver ones? I think we got them in that day, I believe, or
We
something
had
like that.
moms because like they were affordable and you know we didn't know any better.
They were
And
metallic, but they were like,
yeah,
oh, these are shredding.
I
So,
know.
yeah, we had a couple of those. I remember on the
But
field
no
when,
wardrobe malfunctions.
no wardrobe malfunction, but it was just, and it was magical. It was just
Yeah.
when you're
Yeah.
bailing them, and that inaugural squad, I tell you, it's you. It's such an honor for every single one of those women, the 35 women who made that first squad, because that spoke to their, I don't know, it's just you can't, only 35 women can say they were the first Top Cats
Yeah.
ever.
Hmm.
What
And
makes
when we have
this
events, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna like piggyback on what you were saying that inaugural squad, they are probably the most involved with the
Right.
alumni
They
to
are.
Yeah.
this day, like
Yeah.
percentage wise.
Yep.
Hmm.
And I love it because I feel like that's my bridge to my
Yeah.
peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's very special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget how many. There were at least minimum of 21 from the original squad of 35 who were at the the
That's great.
reunion in
I
at the
love it.
stadium in October, if I'm not mistaken. It might have even been more than that. Some women obviously live really far away, and it's
Yeah.
and their
Right.
schedules don't permit.
But they're
But
the trailblazers. Like they're the ones, you know, the
Hmm.
blood, sweat, and tears. And it was the first year, and there were things that we knew and things that we didn't, and things that we experimented with and things that worked and things that didn't. And, God bless all of them. They were
Yes.
just troopers, and they earned their stripes that year.
Yeah.
Yep.
So a lot of you talked about branding and, what you were looking for, what you expected out of the dancers. I want to talk a little bit about the standards that you put in place and some of those rules and regulations. What were some of those that you put in place that still kind of describe the Top Cats brand, or like just what was expected of a Top Cat at the time?
To be very obviously professional at all times, and remember that even when they were not in uniform, and when they're not in uniform, they're still representing the organization. So you got to think about how you're presenting yourself, how you're dressed, what you're saying. So we expected a lot of them. I mean, on a simple example, no chewing gum. And I get it. Like I teach languages now, and one of my little French students yesterday, I got there and she was blowing bubbles, and I said to her, I said, "Sweetheart, I'm so proud of you for being able to blow bubbles." She's like 9, 10 years old. I said, "But you got to take it out for class because I need to hear you speak French, and that's easier for me not to." And that brought me back to the Top Cat days and same thing with the Eagles. I mean, no chewing gum, and Kimberly, I'm sure y'all had that at the Patriots, and no dating of players. And people sometimes are like, "What?" Because some people, there is dating in the workplace sometimes. And granted, I met my husband, who was not a coworker, he was a client of ours at the Eagles, and met him that way. But it was a conflict of interest because we needed our squad members to focus on their job. The players need to focus on their job. The players out there on the field don't need to be looking for their girlfriend on the sideline and, getting distracted. And
Some of it was protective towards the ladies on the squad too.
it was.
I'll just leave it at that. It was a protective measure for a lot of.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. So would you describe yourself, each of you, as strict leaders or a strict leader?
Yeah, I would say both.
Yeah. Like I remember when Leslie first hired me, I reached out to my coach at the Patriots and my college coach, Kathy Bucky, and I'm like, "What advice can you give me?" And they both said something to the same effect that start off strict because you can always step back. But if you start out lenient, you'll never get control. And, you're dealing with a team of 35 highly accomplished, highly competitive women, and we just had to make sure that what we did for one, we did for all. Like it was fair. Everything had to be the same. So and that's why I think our contract was so extensive, was because, if you let one person slide with one thing because for whatever reason, fill in the blank, the other people in the squad might not understand why that person got special dispensation. So it was just easier. And there were times where we had to enforce discipline or consequences, and it stunk. Like it was probably the worst part of the job. But if we had not, then quite easily it could have descended into chaos. And so it was just easier. We do for one, we do for all. Same. Fair is fair.
That's a good way to explain it. And I think I was softer perhaps, but yet
You were
but corporate
about some things. About some things.
but when I reached my limit, they knew it, and they were like, "Oh no!" And I came to a meeting, and they were like, "Uh-oh, what's going on?" And I would be like, "No smile, no anything," and be like, all business, so you better
Well,
listen up."
I was, I think, 29 years old when you hired me, and so I was the age of some of the women on the squad, and so I had to behave in a certain way that did differentiate myself with them. Like I didn't socialize with the girls on the squad, even though I knew some of them prior to cheerleading, just from my various cheer background. I had to draw a line, and it was hard at times. It was hard at times to step back.
Yeah,
Good
that's
point.
so important to draw that line. It's like the parent-child relationship. It's like, I'm your parent, not your friend.
Like even one of my best friends wanted to try out, and she had cheered with me on another squad, and she had asked me, she's like, "Should I try out? Should I?" I'm like, "I'm not going to tell you what to do or not do, but I will tell you this. I won't put you on the squad because you're my friend. In fact, you're going to have to kind of over earn it, because if you don't over earn it, there will always be that question with other people on the squad. Is she on the squad because she's my friend?"
Right.
And so she ended up not trying out. She ended up being one of our first field assistants
Yeah.
the first couple
Did a great
years.
job with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So what were some of the consequences that you all set in place? Can you give me an example or a story?
We're talking about all the yucky stuff. I'm teasing
I have
you.
a funny story. I have a funny story. My
Good.
my biggest thing was being late.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a reflection of all my years of being a cheerleader. When I cheered in college, our practice was supposed to start at a certain time and end at a certain time, and it never did. So instead of a 3-hour practice, it could be 4, it could be 5, and that always made that really, really bothered me. So I made a promise to myself that when I ran a squad, I would be respectful of everybody's time. And so I'd tell them, so if practice starts at 7, that means you're warmed up, ready to go. We start, because I will end at 10. I will not go over, because I know some of you have to drive 2-3 hours, sometimes middle of the week. That's my respect to you, but your respect to me has to be on time. And it never failed. Every year, somebody, it was always a rookie, didn't really understand the late thing. And so every year, 7 o'clock, we're starting practice. And I would tell security, shut the gate. Well, not
Oh,
everyone's here. Shut the gate. And so inevitably, whoever rolled on in, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, where they, normal time that might have worked. In real world, that's not a big deal. But, the clock is ticking starting at 7 o'clock. And so the gate would shut, and they'd have to go around to security, and security would have to escort them into the locker room. And it was humiliating for them.
Yeah.
But it was a hard lesson, but everyone knew no one was ever late. And so that was my big thing. It's like, we start on time, we end on time. And the only time we ever went over was one year. It was Saturday before game. And I don't know what was going on. Nobody's head was in it. Everybody was just like, it was a disaster. And it was 3 o'clock. And I'm like, okay, it's 3 o'clock. This is when practice ends. And I will end because I made that commitment to you. But you guys know nobody's happy with where this routine is. But it's 100% your call. If you want to end practice now, we'll end practice now. If you want to stay, we'll stay. What do you want to do? But it has to be unanimous. And all of them said, we will stay until we get this right. And my respect level for those women just went, they didn't have to. But I think it's because as a leader, I was always cognizant of being respectful of their time, that I think that was a gift that they gave to me and themselves. And I'll never forget that.
yeah. Wow. It's amazing. That's a good lesson to have, though. You can't be late, you got to start on time. And something that we implemented, I don't know if you all are aware, when I was on the team, we had TopCat time. And that was whatever the call time was, you showed up an hour before that call time. And
Oh, wow.
it wasn't required for everyone to show up that hour before, but usually if you wanted to be calm and not stress about the game or the practice, then you would try to show up within that hour, and at least 15 minutes before practice starts.
We did open the locker room early, and I liked when I would roll in, there would be TopCats practicing, stretching, doing whatever, they need to do. And so when it was time, we would do call, Leslie would do her business stuff, and then we have to get up and we have to start dancing. And, everybody was always prepared. So I love that. That's probably an extension of, don't be late.
Yeah.
The
Stay
same thing
ready.
for appearances. Appearances, you had to be there. If your appearance started at 9 a.m., you had your call time was 8:45 at the latest that morning. And people would tell on each other if they were late. Not because they wanted to rat people out, but because they knew how important it was to be on time, and that they had gotten there on time, and they wanted to encourage their fellow cheerleaders to adopt that philosophy. And so nothing was ever done out of meanness,
It was a standard thing. It was like, we have higher standards, and this is what we as cheerleaders expect of our fellow teammates. So I know it got to the point where Leslie and I didn't really have to police anybody. Just the current squad members would kind of school the new girls and go, look, this is the expectation. And as your teammate, we will, this is the expectation. You either make it or you don't.
Yeah.
And people, everybody wants to be excellent. And so it just created an atmosphere of excellent and high standards. And I think I still see a lot of that in our alumni today.
Yeah, very much. It's amazing. And in the current squad, when Brandy ran auditions, I was thrilled with everything that I saw in terms of it was a tough process, very fair one, but a tough process. And I think that has been the norm for the Panthers over many, many years. And I'm glad to see that continuing. And kind of going back to what Kimberly said earlier, talking about our uniforms, and you referenced, Jasmine, has seen things like some of the traditions from the first year coming back, especially during this 30th year anniversary for us to see those implemented, because I didn't realize how much I want to say missed it, or I didn't realize how much it meant to me until that gala in October. And then I was a sobbing mess. I was a wreck because it was so touching. And it just reminded me of how special our Top Cat program always has been, and it continues to be.
Yeah.
It really does.
It's because of ladies like you. Y'all set the stage. Y'all set the standard. Y'all are legends for that, icons of the organization. So I'm giving you your flowers now because you deserve them.
Well, we have fun doing it together for sure, without a doubt.
It was good times, some of the best times of my life.
Yeah.
Agree.
One thing that when I was doing research, I noticed, I think Leslie or Kimberly, I can't remember which one you said this, but there was a stunt squad in the late 90s. Tell me about the decision to have that. Where did that come from?
So it wasn't necessarily a stunt squad, but keep in mind that the Carolinas has a super strong traditional cheerleading history. And you've got squads like Chapel Hill, you've got squads like NC State, national champions. And so when we first came in, there were some top cats who could tumble, and there were some top cats who wanted to stunt. And so there were a couple routines where we would try to incorporate. I mean, it was never a full on, toss up, fulls, cupies, liberty. It was never that level. But we had people on the squad that wanted to do it, that could do it. And so the first couple of years, we just incorporated some of that into our routines where it made sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not in the fourth quarter on a wet field.
What's it called, Kimberly? You would have them, they would lift the girls, they weren't flyers per se, but they were the little ones
The
like
base?
flyers. The base, the base there, and then they would, and we had guys that were helping. They weren't on the squad, but they were kind of like
they were cheerleaders from UNC Charlotte. I think they were on the UNC Charlotte collegiate team.
Yes, and they came in. It was kind of like, and they ran the flags originally,
yeah,
that kind of thing. And so now they have the guys in the four corners, which we had too. So that's continued, but they did do some stunning for a while. And that, I don't know how long that. Did we do that for what, 1 or 2 seasons?
I think maybe 2 seasons. And again, here's Charlotte, Carolina, with an NFL professional football team right in the middle of super popular college sports and that college sport atmosphere and cheerleading and dance teams and the cheerleading style. And so, the NFL style dance team was a little foreign. And so it was a nice blend for this first couple years until it transitioned to more of a dance team style. And even the style of dance we did in the beginning was more cheer dance.
It was.
It was trained dancers. And I think that's why, we could have girls or young women on the squad that maybe didn't have that studio dance training, but, if they could count to 8 and they had a sense of rhythm and they had a good work ethic, we could work with that.
Yeah.
So most of the dances were cheer dance. Did you bring in any other types of styles like jazz or hip hop? Did you do any hip hop around that time?
We always tried to do a variety of dance styles. There was always a hip hop routine. I remember one year we did a step routine to Monday Night Football. And, I had no problem pulling in some of the cheerleaders on the squad who had backgrounds that I did not have. Yeah. And so I remember Janelle Rayford was one of the ones that kind of led the step routine. So the whole beginning of Monday Night Football, there's a video of it. You can't really hear it because it's on grass, but we had this really cool rhythm going. If we'd been basketball, it would have so played better.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked that, the girls that had the more studio training, sometimes we'd incorporate some of their ideas. We always tried to work on technique, and I always tried to raise the bar every year with the talent level. So, the first year, literally, if you could do a full turn, you were on the squad.
Yeah.
But I wasn't happy with that. I'm like, we can do better. We can be more. And so we would work to make that. And then every year for finals, I would try to really push the boundaries of the technique of what the candidates could do.
Yeah, like special skills and tumbling and things like that. These days, I feel like the girls that try out, they're so talented. And, I'm like, if I tried out for this team today, would I make it? I don't know. It's questionable.
I mean,
They're so talented.
every year they just get better.
They do. And the program continues to improve. And some people, we're not of the mindset, we want the program to continue succeeding, and not just succeed, but to grow and get better. And every year I feel like it gets better and better and better. And it's like, wow. And the talent gets higher.
Yeah.
And at finals last year, I remember watching those people on the field. I'm like, oh my gosh, every single one of them just like we felt about the people auditioning for us, but everybody could dance-wise. We had some questions about some dance, but we loved everyone. But everybody dance-wise could make that squad. So that was like, wow, blown away.
Yeah. Definitely tough decisions every year for the organization. So
That's
before we get into some
outside judges.
What'd you say, Kimberly?
That's why you bring in the outside judges.
Yeah, get an unbiased view. So before we get into some rapid fire, I want to ask one last question for you ladies. What do you think of the pro cheer and dance world now, and how have you seen it change from when you led the TopCats?
I think social media has changed so much has changed the way it's viewed. I mean, you look at Dallas has always been known as America's sweetheart. So, and I love watching the program on Netflix now. I know, and it brings back a lot of smiles, laughs, and tears when I watch it because of memories. So I think that there's much more opportunity for the squads to be known outside of their markets now. But I don't know. And I think there's still that intimacy of the squad members themselves, that they have that sisterhood, and in some cases with guys as well in the squads, depending on the team. So I think that's the positive that continues year to year. But I think social media has changed the way so many things are done with the squad, and having that visibility through your Instagram and your Facebook.
I mean, good, bad, and ugly. Good, bad, and ugly.
Very much so.
Going back to, some of the rules that we used to have, I remember one of the alumni reminded me of this was, whenever you're photographed, don't be photographed with a drink cup, because you don't know. I mean, even back in the day when we didn't have Instagram and Facebook, you see a photo of somebody with a drink cup, could be you, could be alcohol, could be not, who cares? But now everything is so scrutinized, and, you have to pre-think so many things and how it's going to be received. And, you've got the haters that were living in the shadows, didn't really have those back in the day. And now, everything is scrutinized, and everything is, you have to think twice about posting. But on the flip side of that is, I made a comment, trying to dig through images of my days cheering and my days with the TopCats. There aren't that many because we didn't have camera phones. And now one thing that all the people who've participated in the programs now, they have so many images. So at one point in their life, when they're retired and they're, in their 40s, 50s, 60s, they'll have those memories and they can look back, and there'll be a plethora to pick from. Whereas we didn't really have that. And I wish we did.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. Very good points.
Wow. So thank you, ladies. We're going to get into some rapid fire now. So these are just really quick answers, if you can, to what I will say. You just react to it. The first thing that comes to mind. You ready? It'll be fun.
Let's answer first.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, if you could describe the first squad in one word or phrase, what would you say?
Determined.
So many words that are coming to mind, so it's hard to think of just one. One of a kind.
What pregame rituals or things that you like, or superstitions, did you have? did you have any?
The squad always got together in a circle and prayed
Yeah.
before they went out.
Yeah.
I think they still do that. And I was on the team, they did too.
Yeah, they do, which is cool.
Yeah. Name one thing people might not know about the first era of the Top Cats.
Well, I think it's true of a lot of these women have jobs and careers. I remember nurses and teachers, engineers on the squad. It wasn't your typical Barbie girls. Like everyone had depth and everybody had something beyond just being a cheerleader.
Well-rounded women.
Mm-hmm.
How has Top Cats helped you become who you are today?
It's expanded that's not going to be one word, but it's expanded my circle of friends. And with the Top Cats, I was more of like an aunt or a mom figure, whereas when I was with the Eagles, I was their age. So they were like my friends, sort of. I mean, they were after they left the squad, we could be friends. I think it increased a sisterhood for me and sense of pride that just I felt from being involved with them. And when I see them now and all they do and how they support one another through celebrations and through grief, just makes me so proud of them. So my sense of pride is there the most. So I'm not sure if it's just, it's just more about them in certain terms of about me, but just it makes me feel a great sense of pride.
We're lucky that we get to be a part of the sisterhood, even though, sometimes I feel like we're the outside looking in because we weren't on the squad with them. But just to be a part of it, it's something that I'll always hold dear in my heart because I know I worked really hard. Leslie worked really hard. The cheerleaders who cheered under us worked really hard. Blood, sweat, heart, and tears.
Yeah, I love that. What was the biggest hair and makeup trend of the 90s?
Big hair.
Big, yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
The claw bangs. The claw bangs.
Yes. I've seen those in pictures for sure.
Claw bangs, for sure. Yeah.
And nobody wore the false eyelashes back then, I don't think, right?
Really?
But it was before, hair extensions. It was before
Right.
lashes. Like
Yeah. Nails had to be done, but they weren't, I don't
they
think.
couldn't be a color. They had to be like skin tone or
Natural, yeah.
French or clear.
Interesting. That's really, the big lashes are so like,
Yeah.
I feel like early 2000s up until now. Do you have any regrets from your time on the team or anything you feel like you wish you had done differently?
I have one, and I feel it every time I think about the squad. I wish I'd been at more practices on weekends. I rarely went to Saturday practice. I was there Wednesday nights to conduct business, but Kimberly and then the subsequent choreographers always handled Saturday. Great, because they were so capable. I didn't feel like I needed to be there, but I wish I had been more supportive on the game day before game because they deserve that from the director. So I wish I'd done that.
I think for me, I wish I'd lived in the moment more. I think I was so focused on the fans and preparing the team and never putting a step wrong that I kind of wish I had enjoyed being in the moment a little bit more.
Yeah. That's one thing that vets, I feel like they stress to the rookies, like during the national anthem, look around and see the people in the crowd. Like it's the small moments because it goes by. Yeah, take it all in because it goes by so fast. One season can like fly by. And
you never know. You never know when your last game will be. Like the lucky ones get to plan that. But sometimes, life happens and, you're not back the next year for whatever reason, whether it's through what you want or not. And I think just being in that moment and living the good, the bad, the ugly, the tears, the sweat, the pain, I'm exhausted. I don't want to do this routine again. It's raining and I'm outside, or it's 100 degrees and I'm sweating down my back. My hair's stuck to my armpit. Like just being, but you look back on that and those are the memories that you have that you're like, yeah, remember when it was like so hot that we're sweating down our back? We do a hair flip and it gets stuck in our armpit.
all the time.
Right? They survived it. They survived it and they did it. And that accomplishment is amazing because y'all did those women on the squad had to put up with so many challenges with the weather. We would be stressed,
Gosh.
because
Yeah.
it's like I would go to. This is actually real funny. I got to tell you real fast. When the cheerleaders wore boots, I would have to go to the head groundskeeper and say to him, Tom, here's our boots. Can we wear them on the field for halftime? Please, please, please. And I would talk to him before that day, going, please, it's only for X amount of minutes. I promise there won't
Right.
be a field because it was natural grass back then.
Yeah.
And there are times when he had to say no, and I was like, oh, and the girls would be crushed because they wanted at that
Yeah.
time once they were used to boots, they didn't
Yeah.
want to be wearing those sneakers. They want to look cute.
Yeah.
Of course. Cute counts.
Yes, exactly. That
Cute
was,
for the gram.
but yeah, but so that was always a challenge. But it's a funny story, yeah, thinking back to the boots all the time and wanting to wear
Well,
them.
even like for
Yeah.
shoes, I remember because it was natural grass and, the way they had their lines, we'd have 7 in each corner. And by the end of the season, they would have like little dirt divots
Yeah.
where
It was
they
Yeah.
a
to,
line. And they would tell us to shift over for the next game and say, y'all got to
no,
do
we
this
have to
again.
align to the like yard lines.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're spacing.
Wow.
We did it all, girl. They were amazing. I mean, everybody from the
Mhm.
coaches to the squad made it happen.
Yeah.
Made my job easier.
Yeah. Never thought about that. The boots probably do work better in the rain because they don't get soaking wet.
Yeah.
What have you learned the most from leading pro teams?
Can really go if you want. I know. I'm trying to think.
Oh, like, I think a pro team isn't that much different from leading a college team or an all-star team when it comes to cheerleading. I think at the end of the day, it's about teamwork. You have the phrase teamwork makes the dream work, but I think at the heart, there's so much truth there because, in all the years that I cheered in the pros, and then when Leslie and I ran the team, unless they were really good actors, everyone got along. Like, I don't remember feuds between anybody. And, everybody had everybody's back. And I think, everybody was a team. And I think that kind of philosophy, teamwork makes the dream work, that transfers not just in cheerleading, but in your corporate job or in your family or, however you want to apply that. I think it works across the board in so many aspects of your life.
Right. And it's funny, once you were saying that, that's what I was going to think of teamwork. And we had two signs. Well, we have one sign and one say, of course, everyone says there's no I in team. But the thing that they had in the locker room that you probably still saw was "Don't watch the show, be the show."
Be the
We had
show.
that hanging in our locker room.
Yeah.
We had another one too. I forget what the other one was. The squad members would see and they could tap it if they wanted.
Yeah. I think Nicole Price, the second choreographer, was the one who came up with a "Don't watch the show, be the show."
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
And that was so true. And that
Yeah.
goes back to the whole teamwork philosophy. And then we had an original Top Cat, one of our inaugurals, Amy Woodard, and she wrote a poem, the Top Cat Creed.
The Creed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was in the locker
Yeah.
room. We had it put on a big permanent board, and it was up there. I don't think it's there anymore. I'm not sure, but it was. It's true, and that was, and we would recite it at
Yeah.
at the sleepover at the stadium. Yeah, our sleepovers used to be at the stadium.
What? I
Yes.
wish.
We
We were
do like a
low
work
budget.
weekend. We would
We
do a
were
work
low.
weekend, and the girls they'd bring their sleeping bags. Leslie and I would bring our sleeping bags, and we would start Friday. We'd go through the contract, we'd rehearse, we'd go through appearances, how to act on appearance lights. It was like Top Cat boot camp, and
I've
it was
always wanted to do that.
And God bless
It
him,
was
but
so fun.
yeah. And then my
It's
husband
a great
first
bonding.
he'd stay down there
Yeah.
and he would be in the Sir Purr's dressing room
Mhm.
for security in case we
Uh-huh.
needed anybody, in case there was some crazy people wandering around the stadium because you didn't have all the guards like you do now.
Yeah.
But it was but yeah, we made it work and had fun doing it.
That's so much fun. I've always wanted to sleep over at the stadium. I'm
Oh,
jealous that that
Well,
the
girls
squad
did
did
not
that.
agree with that themselves, but I think in retrospect, if they look back, they would laugh because
It's like going to cheerleading camp.
Yeah.
it was.
It's you work hard, and we'd had food brought in, and it wasn't like, okay, you have to work for 3 days and we're gonna be mean about that. It was a lot of fun, and we always tried to mix in fun
We had
activities.
games, a lot
Yeah.
of fun activities around the
I
tour
think
at the
I
stadium.
remember we would, like, right before the first game, we would have, and I think Julie Roberts nicknamed this D-Day, where I would make every line go, okay, it's routine D-Day. I need to see every routine. This is kind of mean looking back forth because, I wanted to make sure that everybody understood perfection was the goal. It was not an option. That when we're out there for our fans, they don't care if you've had a bad day. They don't know if you're fighting with your boyfriend or your kid is sick. They just see a cheerleader who's off. And then they're not going to think highly of the whole squad. So for me, know your routines was such a big deal. And so I had this thing, and they called it D-Day, where every line would have to perform the routine. And any mistake that they had, the whole squad would, or that particular line would have to do like X number of sit-ups for every mistake. And it wasn't just the person who made the mistake, it was the whole line. And the reason I did it wasn't because I was trying to be mean, is I wanted to emphasize the importance of taking the routines and high standards seriously, but it was also teamwork too, because you're only strong as your weakest person. And if you have somebody on the team that's not taking it seriously, the quickest way to get them to take it seriously is to have everybody lift them up. And so they used to joke about it, and I know they hated it, but it was fantastic.
Yeah, I remember D-Day. I did D-Day.
Do they still do D-Day?
Well, I think maybe my first season, maybe second season. D-Day it was interesting.
It's like finals.
It was like finals. It felt like an audition.
Are you worthy to be on the field?
Right. I remember one girl dropped her palm, and I think we all got in trouble. I don't know. We had a lecture for us when we got back into the locker room, I remember.
Who's ever been a cheerleading coach? Every coach kind of has their own little thing that they do to, drive their squad to excellence. And that was the whole purpose behind that. And it was team. It was, again, what you did for one, you did for all. And
yeah, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
Just a couple more. Yeah, trauma bonding, for real. Just a couple more. Name one TC who inspires you.
There's so many.
There's so many. You can name a couple if you want.
Oh, gosh.
I know. I'm trying to think if there's some of the newer girls, too. Oh, dear.
I know from the first year, like Julie Roberts was one who stood out, she never complained. She always knew her routine. Ellen Watson was another one. Allison Hustad was a mom of two girls when she cheered. We had women that would drive 2-3 hours for practice.
Melissa Morrison,
Melissa Morrison was one. Julie drove from Chapel Hill. Denise or Graham at the time, she knew, she would go behind me and she would copy notes and she would write down. DeWanda Biddles is another one. They would write down every single choreography move. And there would be times where they could have led practice because they knew everything. They knew not only their position, they would know everyone else's position on the field.
Wow.
Actually, and I'm thinking there's so many that you named that are great, and some of the newer ladies as well. But I'm going to be a little partial when I say this, but she comes to mind as Tina Becker, who was Tina Dietrich when she made the squad, who ended up leaving the squad, being my assistant, and then took over the program at one point and went further in her career with the Carolina Panthers. And she was a dance project the first year. I remember Kimberly. I remember where we interviewed her was downstairs. Remember in the West lobby.
Yep.
And we met with Tina. We were just bowled over by her, how she presented herself. She was so real. And we wanted her on the squad. And I said, can you please work with her? And Kimberly said, yes, she can be my dance project. And I will tell that she knows that. There's nothing that's, that we tell. I love to tell that story because how amazing is that?
Yeah.
And Tina just persevered and she never gave up. And she got to a point where it's like, wow, she can dance now. I mean, she's not going to ever be, she's not going to be a Nicole Price who
wouldn't be the point.
Friends. Yeah, Nicole was like, whoa, amazing. She and Ellen would get out there. And but Tina really, she worked as hard as she could to be the best she could be, and off the field appearances, magic, and just how she represented herself. And then when I retired, she became my assistant for a while, and then when I left, she took my position, and I knew the program was in great hands. So she inspires me, how she persevered over the years and continued to work hard, not to get to that. She never would have expected to do that when she got in the program, but how she worked so hard over the years and attained such success, but not for her to brag about it, but just her to be the best she could be.
Yeah.
And look what that did for her.
I mean, I think about people like Tina Adamczak and Anna Marie Pizzacca who'd come from other NFL teams, Pam Burks. You know, they were kind of our leaders in a way, just because they got it. Like they understood the work behind, and they understood the payoff for the fans. And even friends that I knew who cheered in college, I'm like, y'all, it's not the same. Like you have no idea. Like I was a national champion as an NC State cheerleader, and yet people are more impressed, which is harder to do than to cheer in the NFL. And yet more people are impressed that you're an NFL cheerleader than having a national championship. And so the impact that you have, it just goes beyond just the years you put on the squad.
That's true.
Wow. Beautiful, beautiful stories. What advice would you give to a hopeful who would love to become a TopCat?
To be positive, to obviously you've got to work on dance, obviously, but in terms of that, the most important thing is attitude, to have a positive attitude and to be a team player and focus on your showmanship. Even if you're going to mess up a move, don't let it show in your face. Just keep on going. So
wave that hair and pop it on your head.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, attitude is number one, and teamwork.
100%. Like, like I said earlier, pretty girls who can dance are a dime a dozen in the Carolinas. And so what's going to make somebody stand out at rehearsals? And I think it's kind of an inner radiance and an inner joy. Somebody who just loves to perform, and as an audience, as a fan, you enjoy watching that person. They don't have to be the best technical dancer. They're just having so much fun on the field that it bounces back into the fans. And I think that's a quality. That's like lightning in a bottle. Mm-hmm. But if you have that, and to pile on with what Leslie said, have a good work ethic, have a great attitude, be open.
Yeah. Great advice. The last thing I'm going to ask you, ladies, is what do you think is the best thing about being part of this TopCats organization?
Sisterhood.
Mm-hmm.
The friendship.
Being part of a legacy.
Yeah. Whenever we, in the interviews, we told them I always said the most important thing I want you to get out of this program, if you make the squad, is the friendships, the lifelong friendships that you will develop. And I looked at some of the women I saw at a gathering, a sad gathering recently for a friend who lost a loved one. And I looked at the women who were there and how they were supporting their TopCat sister. Mm-hmm. And I was, once again, so proud of them, kind of like their mom, and it just, that sisterhood, you can't put a price tag on it. It's just, like Kimberly said, something from within. And the beauty of that, and the happiness that gives me as their director, and I'm sure Kimberly as their choreographer coach, is just it's the best thing that could ever happen. Yeah, and they will always be there for each other throughout their lives, for the good and the bad, and I
love that. And I think just to finish up what Leslie said, when we were on the squad or with the squad, so many of the women got married, and so many of their sisters were in the wedding. Mm-hmm. And, and then when the babies came, and just, it's so wonderful to see that those friendships are continuing, even to the point where some of the original cheerleaders had daughters on the squad. Like that's just, to be part of that legacy is just kind of like being a sorority sister in a way. It's like a sisterhood. And if you're part of it, you get it. And it's special.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that's a great way to end this. Thank you so much. This was so much fun, Leslie and Kimberly. I hope that you had as much fun as I did, just looking back and especially reminiscing on your time with the organization and leading the organization and everything that you've done to this point. I know it's going to transcend for years to come. So I want to thank you for giving me your time today, and more to come on the TopCats Era series.
Well, thank you so much for having us. It's been an honor. And Kimberly, what a blast going down memory lane with you. And Jasmine, letting you know some of the things that kind of made our world back in the day. So
yes.
How some of the started and the legacy, and appreciate you having us.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Imperfect Cheerleader podcast. Taking the time to listen while you're busy with all of life's responsibilities means the world to me. If you enjoyed this episode, here are a few ways you can support ICP. Number 1, hit the subscribe button so you always get newly released episodes and never miss them. Number 2, take a screenshot of the episode you listened to and tag @theprofessionalcheerleader on Instagram. I love to repost your tags and shout you out on stories. And number 3, write a review on Apple Podcasts. This is the best way to show your support for the podcast and helps bring us even more guests, interviews, and topics. I hope you have a wonderful day and continue to work towards your goals of becoming a professional cheerleader, dancer, or someone who just loves to move, honey. I'll see you next time on another episode of the Imperfect Cheerleader podcast. Bye for now.